Have you ever wondered why you make decisions that you later regret? Have you ever bought something you thought you would use but never did? Have you ever agreed to a deal that you later realized wasn't the best thing for you? If you've ever experienced any of these things, you're not alone. Humans are prone to making mistakes in reasoning. Hi. Welcome back to MYBED, a channel that shares knowledge for comprehensive personal development through great books. There is a famous saying that our lives change in two ways: through the people we meet and through the books we read. But in the world, there are countless books, and your time is limited, so have you chosen the right books for yourself yet? One of MYB's criteria for choosing books to read is to choose books that are cited or mentioned by many authors, because it is like a big fish leading the pack in the ocean. Among all the psychology books I have read, the book I will talk about in today's video is also considered a big fish. This book is called Thinking Fast and Slow by the author Daniel Kahneman. He is the winner of the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2002 and is also the first psychologist to win the Nobel Prize in Economics since the Nobel Prize was established. I have read this book for a long time, but because it is very academic and in-depth, I never thought I would share it through a video on my channel. However, I see that the friends in the book-loving community as well as those who have followed my channel are increasingly eager to learn more about reading, and many people want to learn about this book, so I think it is important for us not only to stop at practical or tool-based books, but also to read in-depth books to learn about the principles. Although these books will not provide you with a tool to solve problems or change your life immediately, they will give you great wisdom and make you understand yourself better. You often hear the saying, "Follow your gut," right? This saying sounds like a good idea, and it is true that you can solve problems in life by acting on your intuition. However, the countless pitfalls we have encountered in the past show us that most of the time, our decisions based on intuition are not reliable. We are very easily influenced by biases, cognitive biases, momentary emotions, and impressions, and make wrong judgments or decisions. Because author Daniel has shown that in most cases, we humans are not rational. So how can we avoid cognitive biases in decision-making? How can we understand the irrationality of human thinking? In the following, I will share with you the most concise part of the book Thinking Fast and Slow to understand how to avoid cognitive biases, improve the effectiveness of judgment and decision-making. Part 1. How does the brain think? Before looking for solutions to improve our judgment and decision-making skills, we need to understand how our brain thinks. Why is this book called Thinking Fast and Slow? Because we have two thinking systems in our brain, fast thinking and slow thinking. The author named them System 1 and System 2. What is System 1? For example, if you see a girl frowning and staring at you, you immediately know that she is angry. This does not require you to think or evaluate the person's mood. You can make a judgment just by looking at them for a moment. Or, if I ask you 2 + 6 =, you can easily answer 8. Anything that is too easy or simple, we do not have to think about it, is all under the control of System 1. However, when I ask you 48 × 23 =, you will have to stop and think slowly. You will need to do mental calculations. This will require a certain amount of concentration, time to think, and force you to use System 2. System 1 is an intuitive system. It thinks unconsciously, quickly, intuitively, and does not require much brain power. It is completely in a state of autopilot, that is, driving automatically. This is similar to what I have said about elephants and riders in the video on procrastination that I have shared. When our brain is in an autopilot state, it feels very happy because it does not have to work hard or waste energy. As for System 2, it is a rational system. It requires brain activity, requires high concentration, and is based on human rationality. Therefore, it also requires a lot of brain power to function and is relatively slow. These two systems seem to be opposite, but their thinking processes are combined and interact with each other. For simple problems, System 1 will rely on experience and intuition to quickly make judgments. When encountering complex problems that System 1 cannot solve, System 2 will be activated and will implement rational thinking. As the book says, when intuition is in trouble, reason will rush in to solve it. This is where the problem lies. Everyone thinks that this sounds reasonable. But according to psychological experiments, it shows that irrationality is the basis for most of our actions. That is, most of our decisions and actions are not rational. Why do I say that? You must know that our human brain is very lazy. It does not want to focus and does not want to waste energy. According to this inertia, the human brain will tend to completely accept the judgments of System 1, and ultimately, fast thinking will become the switchboard to make all our decisions. Part 2. Cognitive biases that lead to bad decisions. The fact that we rely too much on the fast thinking system can lead to a serious problem, which is biased judgment. In the following section, Mybd will summarize for you 3 biases and 4 typical effects in the fast thinking system that make you have biased perceptions and make wrong decisions. Please try to see if you have these thinking habits. 3 biases in perception. The first is the bias towards typicality. We humans have a habit of focusing too much on things that are typical and ignoring the underlying probabilities. For example, when you see someone reading a book on the subway or bus, you are likely to think that he must be a highly educated person. The second is the bias towards availability. If an event occurs in the brain, it will be considered more likely to occur. For example, many people are more likely to drive or take the train when they hear a lot of news about recent plane crashes. The third is the bias towards causality. Most people like to have to explain the cause and effect of events, regardless of whether it is true or not. For example, when an athlete performs poorly in a competition, people will start looking for many unsubstantiated reasons, such as because he is too stressed, unlucky, or not focused during training, for example. All just to explain the result. For effects leading to cognitive biases. First, it is the halo effect. You are beautiful, you are good, you are always right. This is a sentence full of subjectivity, right? It shows a great deal of cognitive bias, but most of us are often affected by this psychological effect. The halo effect means that the first information we receive will affect our overall judgment of the event. For example, the celebrity effect is a typical halo effect. It is not difficult for us to see that most of the advertisements we watch are celebrities. You rarely see a lesser-known person cast in an advertisement. Because celebrities have been widely recognized before, products that celebrities endorse and use are more likely to be trusted and bought by people. The disadvantage of it is that we are very easy to become blinded by our love for celebrities without rationally evaluating whether the product is really good, suitable, and necessary for ourselves. Or when we like someone, even if we don't know much about them, we will still tend to see the most positive aspects of that person. And vice versa, love each other, love the whole way, hate each other, hate all the family and relatives. This is why the first impression is so important. Second, it is the anchor effect. Misperception by prior information. This effect means that when we evaluate an object, people will be affected by prior information. Then we will plan a ready-made answer and then take actions to adjust based on that answer. For example, during a promotion, the original price will be crossed out and displayed next to the discounted product price. The seller is taking advantage of the anchoring effect to make the buyer receive the information about the original price before, thereby affecting the purchase decision. Third, it is the psychological framing effect. This effect means that the same problem or objective object, people will have different descriptions leading to different judgments and decisions. For example, with the same patient undergoing surgery, the doctor tells the patient's family in 2 ways as follows: the survival rate is 90% and the mortality rate is 10%. Most people will hear the first way of saying, the 90% survival rate, will feel that the situation will be better. Fourth, The ownership effect. When owning an item, people will feel that it is more valuable. For example, as businesses today often have a practice of promising customers that they can return without reason within 7 days, but this is how merchants use the ownership effect on consumers. When you receive the product, you will overestimate its value and you will almost never want to return the product unless it has a problem as soon as you receive it. In another way, we will overestimate the value of the things we love and use. We will gradually develop affection and attachment to it and hate the thought of losing it. The things I have listed above are the most typical cognitive habits that show that our brains have limitations that are difficult to explain. We always believe in what we are familiar with, but it is clear that we cannot know the extent of our ignorance and we always overestimate our understanding of the world. Part 3. How to avoid cognitive biases. It is possible to avoid cognitive biases with the heuristics and illusions in perception. We seem to be able to make decisions easily using System 1, but it will cause all kinds of irrational decisions. To make better decisions, MYBED would like to summarize some of the following methods after reading this book to you. The first method is that we need to understand our own thinking patterns. After understanding, we can make the appropriate adjustments. In the above section, I have summarized the most typical thinking habits in the book. The second thing we need to do is always remind ourselves not to rely too much on System 1. The best way is to slow down your thinking before making a decision and facing a problem. Remember that we must remind ourselves to take time to think before choosing to make a decision or take action. The third thing we need to do is to focus on System 2 completely. System 2 works in many ways, but it has a common feature that it requires focus. We tend to follow System 1 because our focus is very limited. We are easily distracted and our minds have hundreds of thousands of random thoughts every day. In order for System 2 to be timely before making a better decision, we need to focus our minds to help us improve our concentration. And the fourth thing we need to pay special attention to is not to let ourselves be hungry when making decisions. When the energy of our body is low, the slow thinking system will be more lazy. Experiments have shown that the success rate of parole for prisoners depends on whether the parole officer has eaten or not. If the parole officer reviews the application after eating, the approval rate is as high as 65%, twice the normal average. In addition, when in a state of hunger, people are more likely to act recklessly and often follow the autopilot mode. Meanwhile, when the brain operates according to System 2, it will require a lot of energy. Therefore, let yourself have enough energy before making a decision or important judgment. In fact, the key to controlling System 1 and mobilizing System 2 is to slow down the thought process. In addition, the author also provides us with 2 suggestions to compensate for the survival of the fast-thinking system. The first suggestion is to not close yourself off when making decisions. Listen to suggestions and criticisms from others. When faced with decisions, questioning or doubting your own intuition will make you uncomfortable. But you need to know that most of us find it easier to recognize the mistakes of others than to see our own mistakes. So, be more open to the opinions of others when making decisions. The author's second suggestion is postmortem. It sounds a bit scary, but it actually means that when we make a decision, first, solve that the event will fail. Then let's write down the reasons that could lead to this failure in a way that we understand. This way, you can remind yourself to plan ahead. From there, you can increase your chances of success in work as well as your decisions. The above is what I have summarized the most concisely from this book. Once again, I think we should thank the author Daniel Kahneman, the translator, and the publisher of the book Thinking Fast and Slow. And finally, remember the words in this book that as humans have 2 systems of thinking, the intuitive system and the rational system. The irrational is the basis for most of our actions. Remember this sentence to remind yourself to think slowly and focus to mobilize the rational system before we make a decision. Thank you for listening. If you find this video helpful, please share it with those who need it. Support me with a like button, follow button, and notification bell to watch my latest videos every week. And if you have any emotions or thoughts you want to share, please leave them in the comments section below. Goodbye, and see you in the next videos.